Hey y'all, welcome to the Lit Pod, the littest of them all, where we live and speak our truth. This is a safe space where we can be as open and honest, not only with each other, but with ourselves. Having those uncomfortable conversations to build better, genuine relationships. I'm your host, Marquise Chanel, and I'm living my truth. So why don't you join me in these deep conversations on the road to healing? What's up, Lit Crew? On today's episode, I want to talk about codependency. But before we get into the episode, I want to do a quick little recap on last week's episode, the grief episode. That episode, we touched bases on the stages of grief, and I gave you guys a couple of tips and pointers on how to cope and manage your grief. We stated that the 5 stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And it is still the holiday season. I did promise you guys a part 2, and that is coming. I have more information and more coping strategies and more little things you can do to honor and remember your loved ones, okay? Before we jump into the episode, let me give you guys a quick definition on what codependency is. Okay, so it says codependency is an emotional and behavioral condition that affects an individual's ability to have a healthy, mutually satisfying relationship. And then I also have, it's an imbalanced relationship where one person enables another person's self-destructive behavior, such as addiction, poor mental health, immaturity, irresponsibility, or underachievement. I will be sharing with you guys the relationship or experience that I've had with codependency. And I also ask that you guys please keep in mind that I am in no way, shape, or form a therapist or expert on this topic. I'm solely sharing my life experiences, beliefs, and research. I've done my research on this topic, and I'm confident and comfortable enough to share my knowledge with you guys. And, just give me a little grace. I'll give you guys grace. Thank you so much for listening. Now on to the episode. The only thing wrong with trying to please everyone is that there's always at least one person who will remain unhappy. You. Elizabeth Parker. What's up, Lit Crew? Welcome back to yet another episode on the Live Your Truth podcast. For those of you who know, and for those of you who may not know, I am your host, Marquise Chanel. Today, I would love to have a conversation about codependency. I want to talk about what it is, the different types, the behavior to look out for, and how to get treatment if you may need or you know someone who may need help, okay? So, as I stated earlier, codependency is an emotional and behavioral condition that affects an individual's ability to have a healthy, mutually satisfying relationship. It is also known as relationship addiction because people with codependency often form or maintain relationships that are one-sided, emotionally destructive, and or abusive. There are 5 different personality types of codependency. You have passive codependents, active codependents, cerebral codependents, oblivious codependents, and anorexic codependents. I want to break those different types down for you so you guys can get a more in-depth understanding of what they are and what to look for, okay? Passive codependents are more fearful and avoidant of conflict, okay? So they're the more timid and scary ones, okay? They disassociate from their deeply private anger and resentment through a persona of admirable empathy, compassion, and generosity. They give in to the inequity of love, respect, and caring. Such sacrificing martyrs never escape their below-the-surface burning rage. The attachment trauma experienced by the codependent taught them that there was no benefit in fighting back, or that doing so will result in worse consequences. So passive codependents, those are the ones that's usually always giving and never saying no because they're scared or in fear of what the consequence or the outcome may be, okay? Active codependents. Active codependents aggressively but futilely try to persuade, control, and manipulate narcissists into loving, respecting, and caring for them. So they're trying to persuade these people, these narcissists, into loving, caring, and respecting them. They delusionally believe such constant surveillance and counter-aggression are justifiable and effective, meaning this person knows that the person that they're in this toxic relationship with is no good, but they think that as long as they're good to them, that they can make them be good back in return. Okay? Active codependents are often not intimidated or afraid of their narcissistic lover. As such, they rely on an aggressive and confrontational approach to both protect themselves and get what they need. Their controlling, antagonizing, and manipulative method is rarely effective. In fact, it often results in the pathological narcissist retaliation. I said that word all fucking wrong. My bad. Which often harms the codependent even more. So the fact that this active codependent thinks that they're going to be aggressive and dominant and demanding to this narcissist partner of theirs, that they're going to get what they want in return, when in reality that doesn't do anything but piss off the partner and more toxic abuse comes. Okay? Cerebral codependents. Cerebral codependents are the intellectual codependents. So you got the smart ones, the ones who try to con you and witch you, okay? They devour education and transformational experiences to overcome narcissistic abuse. They believe that the more information they know, they will be able to solve the problem. So these the know-it-alls, the I know what I'm doing, you know? But you really don't know what you're doing. Especially when you're dealing with a narcissist. You can never know what you're doing with a narcissist. This form of dissociation will never resolve the trauma and core shame that was responsible for their suffering. So just because you know a certain fact or you know how to handle it, you're still choosing to engage in this codependent relationship, okay? Then we have the oblivious codependents. Oblivious codependents live by their ignorance is bliss credo. And I'm doing air quotes here because, yeah, ignorance is bliss. It is an effective defense mechanism for keeping them comfortable. They not only ignore or deny their problems, but they compartmentalize. Damn, that's a tough one for me. Sheesh. And rationalize them. By purposely dissociating from the real causes of the problems and feigning blindness, these codependents uphold the delusional belief that what is not seen is simply not there. So they basically play dumb. They're blind to the fact, oh, I didn't see that happen, so it must didn't happen. I didn't hear it, so it must hasn't been said. They want to play the dumb game, and that's not okay, okay? And then we have the anorexic codependents. Codependency anorexia occurs when a codependent surrenders to their lifelong relationship pattern with pathological narcissists. The anorexic codependent often transitions to codependency anorexia when they hit bottom and can no longer bear the pain inflicted by their narcissist. This form of codependency is a control measure to feel protected, but they starve themselves from normal emotional and sexual intimacy. Also, as soon as the no romance quote-unquote diet ends, their insatiable hunger for harmful narcissists will return. So, like, if the person you're with isn't feeding your soul, you know, you're not getting the emotional love you need, the emotional support, the sexual intimacy isn't there, the relationship ends. But they're soon craving that feeling again from another narcissist. I'm trying to hold on, find out where my next point is. I wanted to talk about how do codependent people behave usually, and what to look out for. Codependents usually have low self-esteem and look for anything outside of themselves to make themselves feel better. They find it hard to be themselves. Some try to feel better through alcohol, drugs, or nicotine and become addicted. Others may develop compulsive behaviors like working too much, gambling, or indiscriminate sexual activity, meaning hypersexuality. They going out, they looking for love in all the wrong places. They have good intentions. They try to take care of a person who is experiencing difficulty. So basically, they see somebody who need help, and they're like, oh, this is my perfect opportunity to help this person, because they're looking for something that they lack. Okay? But the caretaking becomes compulsive and defeating. Codependents often take on a martyr's role and become benefactors to an individual in need. A wife may cover for her alcoholic husband, a mother may make excuses for her truant child, or a father may pull some strings to keep his child from suffering the consequences of a delinquent behavior. The problem is that these repeated rescue attempts allow the needy individual to continue on a destructive course and to become even more dependent on the unhealthy caretaking of the benefactor. As this reliance increases, the codependent develops a sense of reward and satisfaction from being needed. So, the more I need somebody or something from somebody, and the more they give me that, I'm gonna feel like I won in the end because I'm getting what I need, you know? When the caretaker becomes compulsive, the codependent feels choiceless and helpless in the relationship, but is unable to break away from the cycle of behavior that causes it. Codependents view themselves as victims and are attracted to the same weakness in the love and friendship relationships. You are what you attract. You attract what you are. You are what you eat. You eat what you are. Like, if you lack self-love, self-care, you're going to attract that. You're going to attract low self-esteem people, people who have no confidence in themselves, okay? Now, you may ask yourself, how can you break free of that? How can you make sure you're not attracting these dependent people? Okay? Because codependency is usually rooted in a person's childhood, treatment often involves exploration into early childhood issues. So you have to dig deep, do your own shadow work, figure out what is causing you to become codependent, or what has caused you to, depend on others for certain stuff that you should find within yourself. It often involves exploration into early childhood issues and their relationship to current destructive behavior patterns. Treatment includes education. So yes, you have to learn what you're doing and what's causing it. Experimental groups, an individual and group therapy through which codependents rediscover themselves and identify self-defeating behavior problems. Go find yourself. Make time for yourself. Do something that you like or love, okay? Treatment also focuses on helping patients getting in touch with feelings that have been buried during childhood and on reconstructing family dynamics. The goal is to allow them to experience their full range of feelings again. So, basically, find yourself. The first step in changing unhealthy behavior is to understand it. It is important for codependents and their family members to educate themselves about the course and cycle of addiction and how it extends into their relationships. Libraries, drugs and alcohol abuse treatment centers, and mental health centers often offer educational materials and programs to the public. If you need additional information on that, shoot an email to me and I can send you guys any pamphlets, brochures, websites, links that you need, okay? A lot of change and growth is necessary for the codependent and his or her family. Any caretaking behavior that allows or enables abuse to continue in the family needs to be recognized and stopped immediately. Stop that shit. Cut it out. Stop doing it. Stop enabling. Hold people accountable for their actions and behaviors, okay? The codependent must identify and embrace his or her feelings and needs. This may include learning to say no. Set boundaries, not for them, but for yourself. You have to set boundaries, okay? It is okay to say no. No is an answer. This may include learning to say no, to be loving yet tough, and learning to be self-reliant, okay? You have to depend on self, because at the end of the day, if nobody got you, you got you, okay? People find freedom, love, and serenity in their recovery. Hope lies in learning more. The more you understand codependency, the better you can cope with its effects. Reaching out for information and assistance can help someone live a healthier, more fulfilling life. I have some characteristics of codependent people that I wanted to share with you guys. Just a couple examples of what they exude and how you can identify a codependent person right off bat. We have an exaggerated sense of responsibility for the actions of others, a tendency to confuse love and pity with the tendency of quote unquote love people they can pity and rescue, a tendency to do more than their share all of the time. Like if you keep giving and giving and giving, you keep pouring in others' cup and not refilling your own, how you pouring into somebody when your cup is empty? A tendency to become hurt when people don't recognize their efforts. Now you feeling bad because you done went out your way to help somebody and they don't even care. They're ungrateful, unthankful. You going out your way to help a motherfucker who don't give a fuck. Stop that. Help yourself. An unhealthy dependence on relationships. The codependent will do anything to hold on to a relationship to avoid the feeling of abandonment. If it ain't there, let it go. Stop holding on to these relationships just to say you in a relationship because you're not happy. So knock it off. An extreme need for approval and recognition. Only person you need approval from is God. I don't care who it is. Not your mama, not your brother, not your sister, not your grandma, not your grandpa, not your daddy. You don't need approval from nobody, okay? A sense of guilt when asserting themselves. Never feel guilty for asserting yourself. If God put that on your heart to say something, do something, do it. You don't need approval from nobody. A compelling need to control others. Can't nobody control nobody. You are in control of you and you only, okay? You can try to make it seem like you got control over somebody and they doing it because of you. At the end of the day, everybody has a choice, okay? Lack of trust in self and or others. You got to trust yourself. Come on now. You got to get in tune with yourself. Lock in. Fear of being abandoned or alone. I don't know what to say about that one because that can go back to your childhood also. So do the shadow work. Dig deep. Difficulty identifying feelings. That also can be linked to childhood trauma. If you're not comfortable or you don't have the language to identify your feelings or express what you're feeling, you have to do the shadow work. You have to dig deeper. It's deeper than the iceberg. This is like an iceberg. You're only at the tip. You gotta get deep in there, okay? Difficulty adjusting to change. Change is uncomfortable. Change is good. I mean, it's gonna be tough. It has to be tough. If it's not tough and it's easy, nothing good Nothing good is easy, okay? Chronic anger, lying, dishonesty, poor communications, and difficulty making decisions. It's all about self-love and accountability, okay? At the end of this, I wanted to share, hold on. The effects. Codependency often affects a spouse, a parent, sibling, friend, or co-worker of a person afflicted with alcohol and or drug dependence. Originally, codependent was a term used to describe patterns in chemical dependency, persons living with or in a relationship with an addicted person. Similar patterns have been seen in people in relationships with chronically or mentally ill individuals. Today, however, the term has broadened to describe any codependent person from any dysfunctional family. Codependency is a learned behavior that can be passed down from one generation to another. It is not a mental illness. I can reassure you that it is not a mental illness. Codependency is rather a unique psychological construct that shares significant overlap with other personality disorders. The personality disorders that they share the construct with are, where did I write this down? Because I made sure I wrote that down because I wanted to share that with you guys. It co-occurs with BPD, which is borderline personality disorder, and NPD, which is narcissistic personality disorder. So codependency is not a mental illness, but it's a personality disorder or trait, okay? Like, you can break the habit and get out of that, and with the proper treatment and the proper steps, so you can pursue counseling. Consider couples therapy if this is something you and your romantic partner experience. Reconnect with friends and family. Carve out you time. I am big on self-care days. Self-care days are not optional. They are mandatory. You have to make time for yourself. Seek treatment for substance abuse if you have a codependent relationship with any substance, alcohol, or drugs, okay? Help is always the answer. I'm an advocate for seeking counsel, getting help. I personally talk to a therapist, and I have no shame in telling you guys I talk to a therapist. I don't care. Call me crazy or whatever. I don't give a damn. Everybody needs somebody, okay? But don't make it a negative relationship, okay? Start off by being honest with yourself and or your partner. Stop thinking negative. Never take it personal. Remember, breaks are needed. Counseling. Come on. Everybody get in counseling. That's what I need y'all to do. Talk to somebody. At least have one session. Please. If I don't ask y'all to do anything for me, please just have one session with somebody, an hour session with a counselor. Peer support. And set boundaries, okay? Those are the only steps you need to heal from your codependency. That's going to get you on the right path to living a better, happier, more free, fulfilled life. You guys can always come back and let me know how that went. But that is all I have for today. Thank you all so much for listening to the Live Your Truth podcast. And I will see you guys next time. Bye. Thank you all for joining me in today's conversation and being transparent with me. If you want to continue on with the conversation, be sure to use the hashtag the L.Y.T podcast on all social media platforms. Also, if there's anything you want to have an open conversation about, feel free to send your submissions to the L.Y.T podcast at gmail.com. I am who I am. Who I'm not, I'll simply never be. If today's episode resonated with you, feel free to share it with a friend or two. Be sure to like, follow, and leave a review on my Facebook page, The Live Your Truth Podcast. Until next time, see you all next week. Happy healing. Bye.